Hi, this is Jane at Green Side Up. Today we're going to be talking about, well, insects, bugs. When I go to church, I love to sing the song, Holy, Holy, Holy. When I go to my garden, I'm not so thrilled to see Holy, Holy, Holy in the leaves of my plants. So we're going to be talking about that second Holy, Holy, Holy in the leaves of your plants. Come on over, I've got some examples to show you and a little information. So you probably have gone out to your garden and you have seen things in your garden that have been eaten. Sometimes there's holes, like this, where you can put your finger through it. Sometimes it's something that has been eaten on the side, and you're wondering, what's doing this? Whoops. What's doing this? It can be in a shade garden, it can be in a sun garden, it can be on something that's flowering like a crepe myrtle, it can be on the hostas. What's doing this? So we're going to talk about some of the pests that might be causing problems in your garden. I'm going to talk today about some of the pests that we've seen here in the garden center and that I've seen at my home. So this is July, and in July, one of the main pests that we see is the Japanese beetle. Now, there's two nice things about the Japanese beetle. Number one, as bugs go, it's really kind of a pretty bug. And number two, it doesn't stay out eating and doing its damage for too long, usually maybe 3 weeks or so. The bad part about Japanese beetles is there's lots and lots and lots of them. They're very aggressive, and then of course they lay their eggs and they become new Japanese beetles. So we're going to talk about all that. Do you know what a Japanese beetle looks like? I collected a few. I'm going to show them to you. These are Japanese beetles that I found on our crepe myrtles. See them right there? And right there? And right there. They are very aggressive as far as their eating habits. They will eat you out of house and home. They love crepe myrtles, they love roses. There's all kinds of plants that you'll go out and there will be these Japanese beetles. How do you get rid of them? How do you contain them? How do you control them? Well, there's a few ways, and none of them work perfectly. Japanese beetles, I'm going to pull this one, whoops. Usually they fly, whoops. Well, that's what they're supposed to do. A lot of times you'll go out in the morning, and if you see a bunch of Japanese beetles, you can just kind of wiggle the tree and they'll fly off. What you're doing by doing that is, instead of having this large congregation of them, you've now kind of dissipated them, and they seem to like to come, to gather together. They don't do that social distancing thing that we're supposed to do. So if you make them social distance, you've physically gotten rid of some of them. If you're brave enough, you could go out there and literally pick them off and put them into, say, like some sudsy water. That will kill them, and then you physically have gotten rid of them. If you're not into all that touching thing, there are chemicals that you can use, and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit. Another little creature that we've seen eating on our plants are the grasshoppers. Now, right now, they're just little tiny green ones. They're not very big, and they're actually, kind of cute as grasshoppers go. However, I have learned that the grasshoppers around here can get quite large within a very short period of time. Grasshoppers are also very aggressive feeders. Of course, you've seen them eating on your plants, and then they go hopping off or flying off however they get away. We're going to talk about those too. Again, the same chemicals that you use for the Japanese beetles can be used on your grasshoppers. A third little creature that does harm to your plants is a slug. Now, I went out this morning to try to find one. I found one little paltry snail. Oh dear, where did my slug go? And I lost the slug. Slugs are like snails without the hard shell. And slugs can be small like this, or they can be quite large. If you've got several slugs, they can do a lot of damage. They come out at night, where a lot of these other creatures, I'm going to take him off my hand now, a lot of these other creatures are out during the day. Slugs are definitely going to be out in the evening, at night, when you're not there to see them. Slug damage is often where you see that hole in the middle. They don't like to eat right along the heavy veins, so they're going to be eating more that stuff that's in the middle. With slug damage, you'll be able to see their trail. It's kind of a slimy trail that they will leave. The way to get rid of slugs is, number one, making sure that everything underneath your plant is clean. You don't want a lot of debris under there because that's where they can hide. And then we're going to talk about the slug bait too in just a little bit. I also found out that cockroaches can do damage to plants. I did not even go trying to find a cockroach. Just know that they can do that. So how do we get rid of these pests in the garden without doing damage to the good insects? Well, I've brought some chemicals here, some different chemicals. Now, the number one thing with chemicals is you always want to read the label. And I will tell you that with no matter what chemical you're putting on. So for instance, this product is called 7. This product says that it can be used on fruits and vegetable gardens. It can be used in ornamental and flower gardens, lawns, and around the home. Kills over 500 pests. And on the label, it even shows a picture of a Japanese beetle. I know that this product is safe to use on several different plants. I know that this product is going to be effective against several different insects, including the things that we've talked about except the slugs. So this is a product you can use. A product like 7 is going to be effective for about 5 days when you spray it on your plant, as long as you're not getting heavy rainfalls. When you get those heavy rainfalls, that kind of just washes everything away. There are some other types of products. A pyrethrin, a malathion. These are a couple products by the label Bonide. Both of these are very effective. I also checked this one. This is called Fertilone is the maker. Triple Action. This one also has a pyrethrin. And I actually went on and researched, and it does good for Japanese beetles. It will do okay for most of the other insects that would be eating in your garden. On Japanese beetles, one other note. There is this thing called a Japanese beetle trap. And they work very effectively to catch the Japanese beetles. However, you don't want to put a trap like this next to a plant that you're trying to save. Because not only will the Japanese beetles come and get into the trap, but they will also go into your plant. If you're going to use a Japanese beetle trap, it needs to be located at least 30 feet away from the product, the plants that you're trying to protect. So just keep that in mind. Now, slugs, those little slimy creatures, those you treat differently. And this is a huge bottle, so I'm not going to pick it up. Slugs can be, of course, physically removed if you can get out there at night and see them. I hear that you can use beer, and they'll fall into the beer or drink it or whatever they do. Anyway, they die. But it sounds like if you really like beer, that's a big waste of beer. And if you don't use beer, well, anyway. So, slug bait. There are 2 means of killing slugs with your slug bait. Depends on what kind you get. There is some slug bait where you put it down and they crawl over it and it actually cuts them and it physically destroys them. The other slug bait is that where they eat it and then they physically die because they've ingested something that's a poison. Either one works very well. And so no matter if you have a lot of problem with slugs, it's probably a good idea to treat them and get rid of some of them. Again, cleanliness is a very good way to control your slug population. If any of you have any questions about pests in your garden, if you need further advice, we are here. You can email us. You can come visit us at Green Side Up here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I love hearing from people that are outstate. It's just kind of nice to know where these videos are, well, where you're listening to us. This is Jane at Green Side Up, wishing you a very good day and a, well, pest-free future.